What's going on, guys? It's Kyle with DTOM Knives and Gear, and today we have a full review of the CRKT Trask. A very interesting knife. It has a lot of good things and then not so good things. I was kind of disappointed. I really like the look of this thing, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. This thing is on loan from the Apex Pass Around group, and it will be going out to the next reviewer shortly. The Apex Pass Around group I'm not really a part of anymore. Kind of stopped taking knives, but these I put in for a long time ago. This one and the Civivi Odium. And so I'm just now getting the reviews done for all of those. So this one intrigued me for one reason, and that is because of the deadlock system. That right there is the deadlock, basically kind of like a button lock, right? So you press this and drop the blade. That intrigued me. I like button locks. It was a little bit different. And as you can see, whenever it's closed, it's pushed in. And whenever you open it, it pops that back out. And that is due to this right here. When you press it back in, it's a nice, it looks like a really strong lock. I'm going to put a picture right here. It's not a great picture, but anyway, in essence, the lock on this back side, it looks like a T-nut or something. It has two pins. I don't know if they're square. It looks like they're square. They go into the blade and roll on that, and it really seems to be strong. I didn't abuse this knife. I just did some very minor cutting, but just looking at the design itself, it seems to be like it would be relatively strong. So I like that. These handles, let's see what we're working with here. The actual handle scales are, glass reinforced nylon. Whenever I first got it and I did the unboxing, I thought it was G10. So right off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of GRN, but the GRN on this made me think that it was G10. However, whenever you really look at it and feel it, it's definitely not G10. But they're pretty big slabs of the GRN. This thing's pretty thick. A lot of people just don't like that. I actually like that about this knife because it fills my hands out really well. But they did this really weird pattern on it to kind of give you the illusion of carbon fiber, right? And, all in all, it's not horrible, but it's not great either. It's more horrible for one reason, which we will get to in a little bit. But as far as that, we got GRN steel liners. We do have a aluminum backspacer, which is anodized a nice pop of blue, as well as the pivot collar right there. And then we also have a steel deep carry pocket clip. And the button head screws not set into the handle screws, so they failed on that one, but deep carry pocket clip nonetheless. And then a D2 blade. I actually really dig the shape of this blade. The handle and the shape of the blade, I think, are a great look. It is very ergonomic. I got a full four-finger grip in the backed up position. My thumb lands on the little ramp here. And then it also has an area for me to choke up and get behind the knife. It's not an overly enormous finger choil, but it's a spot where I can choke up and really feel that I have control of the knife, and that is awesome. I absolutely love that in the blade. If I can choke up and have four fingers in the back, whenever I hold the knife in its regular position, it makes me happy because I have options. So I love the aesthetics of this blade as far as the shape. The shape of this blade, I think, just looks really good. I am a huge fan. I like the new design of the lock, which I think has been on other models before. This is the first time I've handled it. This knife, I think, came out this year, 2021. And guys, CRKT is not my favorite brand. I mean, not by a long shot. I mean, most of the knives that I've had from them have been pretty much crap. And so, this one, I was kind of expecting a lot. And I did get some things that I like, but the execution, I believe, on this knife is where it really falls. The knife, no matter what I did, is way the fuck off center. Can't get it on center at all. One of the other innovative things that I do like about this knife is, see that little deep Torx right there? That's actually an adjustable detent. When I first got this knife out and went to flick it, the detent was light as shit. I was like, good God Almighty, I mean, it sucked. But I didn't realize that it had an adjustable detent. I had some viewers comment, and then other YouTubers who watch the channel, which is awesome. I actually comment and say, hey, it's got an adjustable detent. I was like, fuck yeah. So I went to try to do that, and by golly, it worked. I like a stronger detent. So, I mean, it's still not like a very snappy action because of the non-smoothness of this. But the detent is good enough, and I can dial it strong enough to where I can deploy it reliably. And that made me happy, because that whenever it got here, that detent was light as balls, and I hated it. So that did make me happy that I could do that. And now I can, you know, slow roll it and do the middle finger flick. Basically, that's it. Like, the thumb deployment is shit. Trying to do the index finger is okay. But the reverse flick is how I open this knife. No problems there now that I know that I can do that. Big problems, though, on the action on the close. So for two reasons. So whenever you press this button in, man, especially on a button lock, man, when you do that, you want that blade to go bloop. You want it to do that for any kind of a button lock system. When you press a button, that's what you expect. I'm not saying that that's the right way or the only way, but whenever I press a button to disengage a knife, I want that blade to fall. This blade absolutely does not do that. It's running on IKBS bearings, but it doesn't feel like it in the least. It feels like it is running on washers, and not even good washers. You can just whack it like that, and it'll work. But, you know, any kind of just the blade moving on its own, I'm pressing that button, nothing. So I'm not really like that. And then, of course, when you do disengage it and you feel this thing, you can even see the jerkiness. It's not smooth. It's not smooth. That's an issue for me. I know you guys are thinking, it's like, well, I mean, you've got all these other very expensive knives made by all these makers and stuff. Yes, you are correct. However, I've also handled a ton of budget knives that do those things, and do those things really well. The most surprising part of this knife was the price tag. You've got GRN handles, D2 steel, a cool lock, but on Blade HQ for $99, $100 fucking dollars? No. Now, I did see it on a couple of websites for $90. Does that help? No. Fuck, what? GRN D2, first of all, for $100? Are you fucking kidding me? And the execution of the knife is shit. Like, if it would at least work like I think it should work, then I could possibly see a $50 knife. You know, the fact that I can't center this thing, and then, you know, now in its defense, this particular design for a button lock or the dead lock could be the reason that it doesn't swing even on IKPS bearings. It's probably just the design of the knife. It's just not my preference. I was expecting it to do that, though, not to have to just do like I just did and do that. Some people like that. It makes it maybe a little bit more fidgety. I'm not a fan. I want the blade to fall is what I want. The other design element that I don't think is great is it actually took me a while to learn where to hold my hands, because when you want to press this button to get it out of the way, this moves out. Can you see that? So with most of my button locks, I'm holding it just like this, and I go to press in, but my finger's on this side holding this from going all the way out and disengaging the knife. So that was a cool idea, and I think it's very strong. However, it's cumbersome because it's right in the area that I pinch most of my button locks. I had to really think about when I wanted to disengage the knife to actually move my finger down here and then do that. I didn't like that. Now, that's not really the knife's fault because it's designed that way, and I just had to train my mind to do it. It's just that is seriously a pinch right behind where the button is where usually you want to do that and disengage it. You just can't do that with this one. You have to pull your finger down and then do it. Not a huge deal for most people. For me, it was very annoying because I'm just not used to that. Could I get used to that? Probably so, because this thing looks good. And if it functioned like it was supposed to, I would be happier. Another thing that I don't really like is the fit and finish for that particular price. Now, I'm not saying like the G10. I thought it was G10. The GRN is done decently well. It's not the greatest, but it's done decently well. And they are pretty big old thick slabs with thick liners. So this thing, but it does have lightning pockets, as you can see there in the liners. Good little spot there. But the blade finish is another disappointment. Oh, let's see. I might be a better... you see that fogginess there? Like where it looks up here and then closer to the bottom. It's not even. The satin finish is all over the place, really. You can see grind lines, but barely. Yeah, like areas right here where the choil is very sharp on the edges. With where your finger is going to go here, you kind of want that knocked down just a tad to be a little bit more comfortable. Everything else is pretty much knocked down. The pocket clip doesn't do a hot spot or anything like that. It's actually a very fucking comfortable knife, like in all kinds of grips. I really enjoy this knife in hand, and I enjoy the blade shape. It's just some of the other stuff I just can't get behind, especially for this price point. That's where they killed it right there. Now, that being said, a collaboration with Eric, Oakes, I guess is how you pronounce his name. I'm really not sure. This is an Eric Oakes design, and maybe the collaboration between the two, I can see that bumping the price up a tad because of that. I can also see the intricacy of the lock bumping the price up a tad. It's a little bit different. But it's got to be done right. It's got to be done well to be able to justify that price point to me, because when I first saw this, I was really excited. I just was let down. Now, with the D2 blade and the, not so great finish, but is the grind okay? It cuts pretty good. I have to admit, I'm definitely not the first reviewer. There's your paracord. And so it's been around the block. Cutting slices of cardboard really does well. It's a hollow grind. I didn't mention that. So that's great. I like a hollow grind. And it really does perform well. It's about 22 thousandths behind the edge, so it's not the thinnest, not a laser beam, but it's definitely thin enough for your EDC task. And with this wonderful blade shape, I found that it did everything that I needed to do. It's not a small knife. It's not a large knife. It's a pretty well-sized EDC knife, even for somebody with my big hands. So let's go ahead, turn the camera around, and we'll put it up against some of the other knives in the collection to give you some size comparisons, and then we'll also do some specs. The CRKT Trask. Alrighty. So let's see. There we go. I think I gave you a pretty good look at the actual handle scales. Like I said, GRN, not my favorite. Done decently well. Very thick though. It is a chunker that most people will say. I actually really like that because it fills my big hands out really well. I think this knife is so comfortable in hand. That is for sure. Like I said, that little nice design of the pivot collar there with the blue and your aluminum backspacer. Pretty thick slabs of steel for the liners. And the blade stock thickness is actually 130 thousandths. So, I think this knife could handle quite a bit. I don't think it would be a dainty boy. I think it can handle, quite a bit of work. There's that devastating centering though, man. I got, when you loosen this pivot and these handle scales, like I didn't take the knife apart because it's not my knife, but I was trying to get it centered and it just wouldn't work. And, man, that's so disappointing. So disappointing. Now, I'm not sure if anybody else took it apart before I had it, and maybe that was it. But yeah, I just don't like it. The blade finish, I don't like it either. It's very cheap looking. The blade grinds and the finish that's on this thing. You've got CRKT there. Big bold letters. Not my favorite, but it's okay. And then you have your Trask, the IKBS bearing symbol with the Oaks design. And then where's the D2? Oh, I know it's D2 still, but I don't even think it's actually, it's not. Unless I'm totally missing it. It's not actually on here because I keep thinking that is the D2, but it's not. It's just some kind of a serial number, which nobody wants that on there either. There's your pocket clip. So the pocket clip, it works okay, but for this price at $100 damn, and you don't have it inset into the GRN, and you have the big old button head screws, epic fail. I just don't think that is good for this price point. It's just not. Everybody knows that you want to push this down into the scales and use flathead screws. Not hard. It's just not. But ever since I decided to, or knew that I could adjust the detent, the actual opening of this knife is pretty good. Just the closing that sucks major. So here it is inside the circle. Definitely a full-size knife, guys. I wouldn't call it large. That is for sure, but it is 7.75 inches overall with a blade length of 3.33. So you've got plenty of blade to do what you need to do in your everyday task. You have a blade thickness of 130 thousandths with 22 thousandths behind the edge, handle length of 4.43. The handle thickness is 0.581. So I've had thicker knives and I've had a lot of thinner knives. This one, a lot of people that I've seen review this knife say it is just too thick. I just wholeheartedly disagree. I love the thickness on this dude. Now, it does add to the weight, so the carry in the pocket, you might feel it a little bit more, but you guys know that I carry huge, obnoxious knives, so weight and all of that stuff just does not bother me, but it will bother some, and the weight on this guy is about 4.4 ounces, with a 3.33-inch blade, definitely over the ounce and inch mark for a lot of you guys. So, and then of course, you've also got, like the PM2, more handle than you have blade and blah, blah, blah. I don't care about any of those things. I really think this knife looks amazing. I love the shape. I love the features as far as the hole deployment and the finger choil. It's just a very comfortable looking knife. Let's go ahead and put it up against some of the other ones in this EDC realm. There it is against your Spyderco PM2 pivot to pivot. Definitely a little bit smaller than the PM2, but I think that would make a lot of people happy because some people think the PM2 is a large knife. And so this one does shrink it up just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put it up against a knife that I think has similar lines as far as, but it's a totally different knife. There is your TRM Atom, the Atom in 20CV, much slicier blade, much thinner handle. But yeah, kind of a similar handle shape, right? As it looks pretty close. Another one for size comparisons, it's pretty close to this, is the Demco AD 20.5. Very similar in overall length. Definitely a thinner knife here, though. And, made in Taiwan, made in China, made in America. Another knife that is just to put one more up here, just because I like talking about Leon Mall's designs. I love Leon Mall design. This is the Leon Mall Field Duty EDC, and the Trask is larger than the Field Duty EDC. Definitely a Kyle size knife, for me. This right here works, especially because of the wonderful finger choil that it has, but so does this one. And the handle, I can get a really good grip and choke up. So I really, really dig the overall design of this thing when it comes to the shape. I just can't get over everything else. So, I mean, can I recommend this knife? Like, with a resounding no, I can't. I would steer everybody away from it. I mean, this is, I know a lot of people are going to be pissed. And CRKT, I'm sorry. I mean, some of your knives I've had and I've at least used, like this one, I didn't want to carry because of those issues. The centering, the absolute grittiness of the action. And I do appreciate the features that you put on here, and I like a lot of them, but it was just executed poorly. And yeah, I'm going to be sipping this out to the next reviewer, and will not be looking back at the Trask for sure. So anyways, guys, I appreciate you stopping by. Give me hell in the comments. Tell me how much of a horrible person I am for trashing on this knife. I can take it. It's okay. I do love you all. And guess what? Fuck YouTube and Google. I'm talking to you, bastards. You censoring sons of bitches. I have a channel called DTOM Freedom Talk. If you like to be able to hear my rants on the different news and stuff that is going around, different events that happen in this country, a lot of things such as COVID and whatnot, I do talk about, but I don't want to do it on this channel, so I do it on another channel, which is still very brand new, and I've already had one video be removed from YouTube because they love to censor shit, and I expect them to do fully this channel in the future. So if you want to support me there, go DTOM Freedom Talk. I'll have it linked down in the description. Anyways, guys, stay safe in this absolutely crazy world that we are living in, and we will see you in the next one.